So good morning. I am Rudy Jumbar. I serve as the Associate Dean of the Criminal Justice Program. And what we did is last year, we created the Institute of Public Safety Colloquium. What that has done is allowed for our students and our Broward College stakeholders as a whole to be exposed to practitioners in the field of criminal justice. But this month is Women's History Month. And funny enough, our first event last year was a Women's History Month event. And so I have a fondness for this month. I think that women empowerment is important. And with that mindset, I got together with Lauren Adamo, who serves as the Student Life Director of Broward College Central Campus. And we came up with a Woman in Leadership series. This will be our third panel. Our last panel will be March 30th, and it has been a wonderful, wonderful journey. Our March 9th, we began with our first panel, which was part one. We collaborated with some other pathways at Broward College. We have 8 academic pathways. We wanted to be all inclusive, right? And so today marks part 2 of our panel. And we have some wonderful panelists. I do want to give major kudos to Dean Elizabeth Molina, Associate Dean Keisha King, and also Associate Dean Jennifer Solly in helping us secure our wonderful panel to make sure that the social behavior sciences and human services pathway is represented, the education pathway is represented, and then also EAP, which falls under the umbrella of the AHCD pathway, is represented. And so now at this moment in time, I'm going to introduce our wonderful panel and our moderator as well. And so I'll begin with Dr. Cheryl Noel. Dr. Cheryl Singleton Noel is currently providing mentorship and developing an online practice. Her education and leadership began early in her career. Leadership models that have guided Dr. Noel are servant leadership and strengths-based leadership. She earned a PhD in clinical psychology from Kent State University in Kent, Ohio. Dr. Noel is a retired administrator who served as the Assistant Vice President of Student Affairs at Florida International University. She supervised health services, including counseling and psychological services, wellness, victim empowerment, and disability resources services, the Office of Veteran and Military Affairs, and minority programs and scholar services. Responsibilities included roles in crisis management, facility management, budget, and technology. Dr. Noel was appointed to the Elements of Excellence Committee, which provided leadership program modules at the Association of University and College Counseling Center Directors Annual Conference. Dr. Noel is married to Danny Noel Sr., a retired Miami-Dade County social worker, and congratulations, they are expecting their first great-grandchild, so that is amazing. Dr. Elizabeth Molina serves as the Dean of Academic Affairs at Central Campus and the Education Pathway at Broward College. Since joining the college close to a decade ago, she has served in several other administrative positions, including Associate Dean of the Education Pathway and Coordinator of Instructional Technology, prior to being selected as Dean. Prior to working in higher education, Dr. Molina was an elementary school teacher in grades 4 and 5 in Miami-Dade County, shout out to 305 where I'm from, and middle grades mathematics teacher in Volusia County. Her accomplishments at Broward College include overseeing a $3.5 million teacher quality partnership grant, increasing pre-professional teachers' pass rates on certification examinations, and launching new program endorsements to meet the needs of local school districts. Most recently, Dr. Molina was one of 3 authors of an Education Foundation textbook for pre-professional teachers. She received a Bachelor of Science degree in elementary education, a Master of Science degree in educational technology applications, and a Doctor of Philosophy in Higher Education Leadership Administration from Barry University. Professor Renata Pavanelli is an EAP Assistant Professor at Broward College. She has been teaching EAP and English courses for 13 years. Dr. Pavanelli has a Master of Arts in Linguistics from San Diego State University and holds a doctoral degree in curriculum and instruction from Florida International University. Good to have you, Dr. Pavanelli. Professor Eileen Santiago, one of my faves, has been with Broward College since 2017. She is an assistant professor of reading in the teacher education program and a proud BC alumna. Eileen is also the club advisor for Reading Life, Reading LYF, a club that promotes reading at the college and Broward Up communities. So Professor Santiago, as always, it is a pleasure to have you. And thank you for choosing to be a panel, or rather the moderator of our wonderful panel. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get out of the way and just allow for a beautiful and fruitful conversation to begin. Thank you all so much who have attended. I see several folks on, so we really appreciate your presence. All right, Professor Santiago, the floor is yours.
Thank you, AD Rudy, and welcome everyone. I'm excited to be here, and as a moderator, I'm not here just to ask questions, but to also take your response, or your responses, and learn more from you. And so again, I'm super proud to be here, and we have some great questions that we're gonna share today, and we can't wait to leave today being more empowered and honoring Women's History Month, but at the same time having this celebration constantly, and really learning from each other. I love the panel that's here, and all that you've done. I've heard great things about you. I work with Dr. Molina, and it's always I think it's never enough when we just say, I have my degree, I'm where I'm at. We're always learning. I learn from my students. I learn from my daughter. There's so many impactful women of different ages, of different backgrounds. And I think it's so amazing that this month, with these series that we're learning from different, I was in the previous session that was moderated by Dr. Bob, who was also a professor of mine when I was at BC, and I literally wrote notes. And sometimes you write it down and you come back a few months later, oh, that's what she meant, or this is what I need today. So again, I'm super excited to be here, and let's go ahead and get started. So my first question is, I guess I'll start with Dr. Molina, and then I'll go to Dr. Noro, and then Pavanelli. My first question is, what does Women's History Month mean to you?
Well, first and foremost, I agree with what you said, Professor Santiago. I think women's history should be celebrated and acknowledged all year long. But to me, I think it's a time for me to ponder on all the accomplishments and even the setbacks that we've had as women. It's a time for me to reflect on the work that still needs to be done, and at the same time celebrate all the inspirational women leaders that I look up to for empowerment. I think as women, we all have unique stories of how we got to where we are today, and during this month it's the perfect time for us to reflect on our own personal progression. I also think that it's important to reflect on what other women throughout history have sacrificed and fought for in order for us to be where we are today, especially for young girls and even women who are struggling, whether it's personally or professionally, recognizing the knowledge of women's strength and their contributions during Women's History Month. I think it really builds respect and it helps boost our self-esteem. So if I had to say one thing that it means to me as a woman, it would be celebrating and reflecting on past achievements and the contributions promoting ongoing empowerment among women. But then from the lens of a K-12 educator, I think it means teaching not only young girls, but also the boys, the language of equality and a broader view of history by showing them women's contributions and how they have advanced our society and continue to impact all of us.
Thank you, Dr. Molina. Dr. Noro?
Okay, good morning to everyone. And Dr. Molina, I agree 100% with what you said. I'm so glad that even though, as you say, we should celebrate every day as Women's Day, but to have a month set aside for us to truly reflect and evaluate where we are and how far we've come. I know early in my career, I was the first female and certainly the first Black female in many settings, including my graduate experience and then on some of my early work experiences. So I can see in my lifetime how far we've come, but still how far we have to go when you look at what's happening in society today. When you look at the salary equity, of course, when you look at the difference in gender roles and the different experiences of men and women, the opportunities, yes, but then also the limitations and the many battles that we face that are seen and unseen is how I like to describe them. So I appreciate this month. I appreciate the opportunity to really reflect and think about and evaluate and to honor those women, including those women who are here today. I'm so impressed, with each of you and what you've accomplished. And I know that you're very much role models in each of your prospective settings. So I'm delighted to be here today and to celebrate this month in any way that I can. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Dr. Pavanelli, what does Women's History Month mean to you?
Okay, well, thank you so much for inviting me to be here. And I do agree with Dr. Molina and Dr. Noel. Women's History Month is a time to reflect on all women's accomplishments. I think we have to look back at what happened in the past, right? And really appreciate how we got here, how we got better educational opportunities, the right to vote, protection against discrimination. But one thing that I believe that is really important is to continue to challenge the cultural norms about women. So this month is the opportunity for all of us to get together and promote ongoing female empowerment and leadership.
Great, thank you. And I'll add just a little bit about what I add to what it means to me is thinking of who can I impact this month? Who can I share a little bit more? I always share great, links and websites with my daughter on, different careers, powerful women, but finding someone that's not in my box, someone that I haven't talked to make sure that I'm, bringing that out there and really exposing other people. I share a lot with my students. We have a women's book tasting month coming up. I like my pre-service teachers to see authors. Yes, I want you to be a teacher, but there's so many teachers who became authors. And so there's so many different ways, but I know that I try my best in this month with all the great events that are going on at at Broward College is to try to share it with someone else, someone that, is not at the college. I shared some of the links with the librarian who's at a high school, and she has impacts, huge impacts, because she has those, students coming in from 9th to 12th grade in her library. So I shared the links. I said, here, look at all the great things that we're doing. And so during her media time, she's able to share that. So I think it's so important that we continue sharing just the great work. So let's go to the next question. Dr. Molina, what female figure inspired you and why?
I think this is a great question because there's just so many women that have taught me meaningful lessons and have inspired me throughout my life so far. But I think growing up, I'm going to start at the beginning. My role models were my classroom teachers. I know that I was lucky enough to have had strong and caring teachers who showed me that it was okay to make mistakes and help build my confidence as a young girl. With that said, I want future teachers to know that there are so many young girls watching them and looking up to them. So make sure that you model those behaviors that you want them to imitate. But most recently, I think that a female figure that has taught me some good lessons is Sheryl Sandberg. She was the CEO of Facebook, and she has a really great book titled Lean In. To me, it's very powerful and it's very eye-opening that she tells women that they must push for opportunities and they should be taking risk in order to do so and to be successful. But basically, in her way of thinking, she tells women that they don't have to choose between work and a family. They could do both. And the fact that she openly speaks about bridging the gap that exists among male and female leaders and work and life balance for women, and even knowing your worth and supporting other women, it's just something that has stuck with me in recent years as I became a mother and moved into the role of dean. So I think these are some good lessons for women in the workplace. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Noro?
Okay, I have to say Michelle Obama. You know, I feel like from the moment I saw her with her family, President Obama and her daughters, I fell in love with her, that personality, that vibrancy, that intelligence. And I really bonded with her going through those 8 years with President Obama. It felt like she was under assault every day, and at every turn she met the challenge. And just to see someone handle that kind of pressure and stress so gracefully, so intelligently, in such a way that we saw her not only as the president's wife, we saw her as a strong female, we saw her in the role of mother and wife. And she just displayed all of those in an exemplary way. You know, at one point she said in her book, Becoming, you know, that people are angry, or people see me as an angry Black woman. And I wonder which of those that matters to them most. So she was a person who had to deal with women, being a woman of color. So we used to say it's kind of two strikes against you, two things that you have to fight against, being a woman and to be a woman of color. And those are things that a lot of times, those are aspects of us that we have to deal with and play out in different ways in society. And lastly, I have to say, I'm just so impressed with Ketanji Brown Jackson, who's the candidate for being interviewed for the Supreme Court nomination, and just under fire, just grace under fire, intelligence under fire, and just these impassioned, competent females. And I just see them, how they're reacting under the tremendous stress that our society can place on them, but doing so beautifully.
Thank you. And I want to add something to what you said. I love Michelle Obama. It's just the way that she brought, I mean, her fashion, just her, you know, the way that she always came up, her outfits are always so beautiful, but the inside, what she brought as a mom, as a wife, the healthy and nutrition initiatives that she brought out to the schools was very important. You know, really teaching our students from a very young age the importance of being healthy, eating right. And a lot of times our parents, there's parents out there that don't have the information or the education. So being able to provide that to our students, and the students maybe doing the opposite and bringing that information home, to me was amazing. So definitely she's also a favorite of mine. Dr. Pop.
Yes. Today, you know, continually.
Yes, she has not stopped. And Dr. Pavanelli, please
Yes.
tell us your favorite, someone who's inspired you.
Molina just mentioned teachers, and actually I also had a teacher who inspired me to be a teacher today. But actually I decided to talk about my mom, because my mom is my role model. We're actually best friends. We have a great relationship, and she's the one who has always motivated and supported me. So when I was 18, when I left the house, she was always there for me. I'm not from US, so when I decided to live and, you know, to study abroad, she was also there. And when I decided to become a teacher as well. So she's like the one who was always motivating me and telling me to keep going and never give up. I think that is really important, because sometimes depending on the situation, you feel like, oh, I just want to give up, right? So she's been there for me. And unfortunately, it was through like some bad situations that she had to experience in the past that I realized how strong she is. I never knew growing up that my mom was like a strong woman. And she really inspired me, like she inspires me to keep going. So I'm really like, that's why I decided to talk about her. I'm really thankful for her, and I'm grateful that I have her as my mother.
Thank you. And I'll share mine as well. So for me, my someone that really inspired me, that was someone really just a role model. Did not finish high school. She was able to finish middle school, was diagnosed at an early age with epilepsy, and you name the struggles, they were there. And that was my mom. And so sometimes, you know, like we have role models who have a career, who made it, who have degrees and has it all. She was someone that taught me how to be a go-getter, someone to always bring it to the next level, because she didn't have that. And she always pushed me to do things. And at times she was limited because she didn't have that education to say, hey, you got to go to college. This is what's next. But the fact that she went through so many struggles and she was always like a great mom, she maybe needed someone to be at the school with her and explain things in English, but she was always there. And to me, a female figure can be anyone in your life that has either motivated you and has given you the examples or has shown you, wait, if she didn't stop and she didn't complain and she made it happen, what are you complaining about? And so I share that with my daughter as well. Like, listen, you have me. I was able to go to school. I have my degree, but I had someone who didn't have that. And I didn't use that as an excuse. Oh, because my mom didn't go to school, then I'm going to do the same thing. I wanted to prove it. And at the end, I was able to be her caregiver. And to me, that just made it the most amazing impact in my life to actually be able to take care of her. So again, thank you for sharing who your figures are. And for those of you who are here, I hope that you're taking notes and write down that person who, who really made an impact. I love taking notes when I'm listening to others, so please do so. And take a moment and answer that. And, feel free to go into the chat box if you want to share your role model, someone that inspired you. We're here as well. On this side, we're also learning. So thank you. Number 3, Dr. Molina, what does the our topic today is women leaders empowering future leaders. What does that mean to you? And the second part is, how does this manifest itself in your life?
Okay, thank you. I just want to go back and say that it's interesting how much overlap there was in our female role models, because I'm looking at my piece of paper next to me and I have my mom first, I have Sheryl Sandberg, but I also have Michelle Obama. So it just goes to show how these women in our life have helped us grow and become who we are today. So just wanted to put that out there. But okay, so women leaders empowering future leaders and how it manifests. I think I'm going to take that a step further and say that both men and women should be empowering and encouraging future female leaders. And this personal story comes to mind, so I'll briefly share that. So a personal story of mine is that I began my PhD at Barry when I was in my early 20s. I was still serving as a classroom teacher, but I had such drive and I really wanted to, earn my PhD and enter higher education one day. But I remember that one time we were working on a group project, and my team, it was a group of both females and males who were already in higher ed, and we're here taking this higher education governance class. And I remember them telling me such discouraging words, things like, you're so young, why are you in this program? You're not going to get into higher ed until you're at least in your 40s. And Dr. Noel, I'm thinking of the 2 strikes that you just talked about, right? Being female, but I think I had 3 strikes. I was young, I was female, and I was a minority. So basically, of course, those words shattered me at the moment, but as hard as it was listening to it, I took that negative feedback and I turned it into greater drive and passion for myself. And I think that should be a lesson for all women today. As crazy as it sounds, those deconstructive words stuck with me. And I even think about it, even though it was a decade ago, more than a decade ago. And I think back to that every time I'm in the process of attempting to achieve something else. So whenever a student comes to me and shares her future aspirations, me being a leader, I make it a point to offer her constructive advice. I often share with students the importance of training their minds to move through challenges and stop listening to negative thoughts that deter us from reaching our goals. But to me, I think women leaders should be empowering future leaders and instill in them the notion that they should be focusing on and putting their hard work and dedication into what they want to attract and they want to achieve. As leaders and as role models, we have to be caring. I think we have to be very humble, not just say that we're humble, but show that we're humble and inspire other females through our actions by sharing our story and of course by leading by example. So that's how I manifest it.
Thank you, Dr. Molina. So we'll go to Dr. Noel. What does women leaders empowering future leaders mean to you, and how does that manifest in your life?
Women leaders empowering future leaders means to me that women leaders provide opportunities so that future leaders can develop tools for success. Number 1, work with that future leader based on their aptitudes and their interests, meet people where they are. Number 2, provide opportunities that will enhance their skills and talents. And these opportunities can be recommending them associate, like a professional association, encouraging them to attend a conference, a workshop like we're having today. Encourage them to get something that's going to make them stand out, some certification. I know in a lot of fields, we have a degree program, and once you get that degree, there's still other certifications, other special learning that you can do. And then if possible, allow them an opportunity to demonstrate that competence. So if we have students that we're working with or young professionals, allow them to be in charge of a specific project, allow them to supervise staff, maybe bring on a practical student or an intern so that that professional can have that kind of supervisory experience. Leverage whatever resources you have as a leader to enhance the opportunities for that future leader. And that's what happened in my own life. I had a supportive network of males and females, Dr. Molina, that was very important. I was encouraged to participate in local and national conferences where I was exposed to other people who did the exact same work that I did and was able to learn from them. And then I was given an opportunity for a mentor, and that was really a professionally changing impact, because I didn't realize the person that I asked to be my mentor was on the board of trustees when I was at Florida International University. And that was kind of considered a no-no. You weren't supposed to ask a member of the board of trustees to be your mentor, especially when I was at that beginning young professional level. But Dr. Al Dotson, who passed away earlier, late last year, was my mentor and extremely important. So I've tried to provide, as I was able to be promoted to different supervisory experiences, I was very intentional about trying to support young professionals, give them that extra education, that certification, and then give them opportunities to demonstrate their competence.
Thank you very much. Dr. Pavanelli, your turn. What does women leaders empowering future leaders mean to you? And how does it manifest itself in your life?
Well, actually, I have a similar example like Dr. Molina when, and I just felt like, actually, I was not going to mention this at all, but I went to mention being like female, young, and minority, right? I had the kind of like the same negative experience when I was on my master's degree in my program. I was writing my thesis and my advisor did not support me at all. So I think there was a lot going on. He was kind of like, he was not there for me, right? So I think like being a leader, like female leaders, we need to make a difference and show that we're able to do it. And we have to promote women's self-worth and embrace equal opportunity. So I think like we have to set example to young and future leaders and tell them that they can make a difference, that they can make their own choice and make social changes in any area. So I think that it's really important for them to also be aware and speak up, talk about what's going on nowadays about like gender roles. That is just because I am a woman, that doesn't mean I am emotional or only subjective, right? I can complete tasks. I can do like similar tasks just like my colleagues.
Thank you, I agree.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
It's just so interesting to me that when I was in grad school, there was only one female faculty member on the psychology faculty, and she made the same kind of statement that you made, Dr. Pavanelli, that, you know, I'm a female, but if I'm not overly emotional. And she did say sometimes she would get, when she was stressed, she would cry, but she wanted people to just allow her to continue saying what she was saying or doing what she was doing, just that respect. But it's just so disappointing, you know, to hear that like a generation later, you know, we're still not being supportive of women and still saying these negative things instead of really trying to meet people where they are and helping them to move forward. So I'm so glad you were able to overcome that, you know, and not let that really get into your spirit. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Molina, Can you share what qualities do you believe make a great female leader?
Well, I'm gonna say it. I don't like differentiating among what makes a great female leader versus a male leader, especially if we want to achieve gender equality, right? We want to be consistent. But to me, it's like being great at anything. If you're a great parent or you're a great athlete or a great teacher, they all have the same thing in common, right? They're all great at what they do. So again, I'm gonna say that I'm not a fan of distinguishing qualities that make a woman a great leader, because in reality, it's the same qualities that make men great leaders too. And I feel that society has already separated the two and established these norms, right? Like Dr. Pavanelli said, women are emotional leaders. They're more empathetic, right? They're more caring, and then men are more decisive and more authoritarian. And it's interesting because if you look at current research, it actually indicates that gender differences are almost non-existent today in leadership. But I think that a good female leader and even a male leader in today's modern world, they focus on elevating others by mentoring them, coaching them, supporting them, and just helping them grow and develop. Of course, this also means that they foster good relationships. They have superior communication skills with their teams. And other than this, I think that good leaders are creative, they're inclusive, they help build teams, and they have a style of problem solving and decision making that makes others feel good and feel part of the team. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you're on, I hope you're writing these down. You're going to get a few more. So Dr. Norwell, can you please share what makes a great leader, both female and a male?
Okay. I think one of the things that makes a great, I said female leader, is continuing to look through the lens of gender, because their gender issues still do exist. And when we look at ourselves and look at people that we work with, to really look through, don't lose that gender lens, because it does make a difference. I believe that a great leader is a lifelong learner, that you're always learning from, in a formal way and an informal way, especially learning from those who are around us. And I love, had the opportunity to continually work with graduate students and undergraduate students, and to be learning something new all the time. And that challenged me in my own personal growth. The other thing I'd like to mention, and I think it's important to find your leadership style. We tend to have a picture of a leader as this strong, outgoing personality. Well, I don't have that personality. I'm more of a low-key person. And the leadership style that worked best for me over the years is something called servant leadership. And there is a focus on collegiality and consensus building, and really building up those people that you work with, so that you have a happy, productive workforce that's feeling like they're confident and valued. An example that I ran across, which I would never have come up with myself, because it's an example of a shepherd herding sheep. And it's something that Nelson Mandela was quoted as saying. And he was saying that servant leadership is reflected in this kind of an example. If you see a shepherd behind the sheep, that at the beginning of that herd of sheep, you have these energetic, outgoing sheep that are running on ahead of everybody. And then in the middle part, you have these sheep that are they're in with everybody, they're in with the group. And then at the end, you have the shepherd, and the shepherd is keeping his eye on those who are running ahead. And he's keeping everybody moving together and safe and secure, but moving forward. And that really, really clicked with me in terms of what servant leadership is. Well, I want everybody to succeed and to grow. And I know people have different personalities. And I was always thrilled when I had someone who was very outgoing and personable, and that wanted to run out and be the face of the organization or the face of a project. So I just want to encourage those of you who don't have that outgoing personality, that there is a leadership style that will work for you. Thank you.
Thank you. And I really love what both you, Dr. Molina and Dr. Norwell said. And I think it's important that as women, we still remember that we need to move together to be successful. We need to be, working as a team. There's so many, different quotes. There's even a movie, Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. But we should always, try to continue working together. It's not a competition. It's not, I'm doing this better. I'm younger, or I'm in this other pathway. I think we should always look for ways to collaborate, and we really do learn from each other. And I think sometimes it's easier to say it than to do it. But I just think it's really great when we're able to work together, like like the sisterhood. Thank you. And Dr. Pavanelli.
Okay, so I have to say that I am actually on the same page. I don't think we should just talk about female leaders, but like great leaders in general, right? So I think the good, great leaders are people who see problems and find solutions, but that will affect everyone around them, not just themselves, right? So they guarantee overall success. So yes, I agree that a great leader will impact and will help people around them to succeed, just like Dr. Noel just mentioned. They bring value to an organization and society. I think that's also important. But most importantly to me is to make sure that we do all that with compassion and empathy. Because I feel when we have empathetic leaders, they can actively listen to other situations, and then they can effectively address the issues that it is in the environment or organization or workplace, right?
Thank you, Dr. Pavanelli. All right, Dr. Molina. The next question will be for you. Is your career sector male dominated? And if so, how do you or did you navigate?
Well, I think that it's widely known that the teaching profession is female dominated, but what I don't think people realize is that this does not extend past the classroom. And what I mean by that is that if we look at the statistics, I believe that almost 80% of the nation's K-12 educators are women, but if you look at the leadership of it, I believe that it's about 40% who serve as school principals and 20% or so serve as superintendents. So we see that flip on the other end of it. In the early 2000s, when I started teaching in the classroom, in the K-12 world, I taught at an elementary school, and that school was led by a male principal. But if you look at the teachers, we were all female, except for the art teacher and maybe the physical education teacher. Then later on, I taught at the middle school level. Again, I had a male principal and 2 male assistant principal administrators. So the gender divide did worry me as a young female who aspired to a leadership role, because I felt there was little representation for me. I did not have many female role models to observe and learn from. But the way that I navigated through that was by focusing on my own development and always going the extra mile so that my supervisors would recognize my hard work and my drive. I did find a very amazing principal female mentor at another school. I went ahead and I earned my master's degree. I took on small leadership roles outside the classroom. I coached other teachers. I led professional development at my school. So just always looking for other things to do to be recognized. But with that said, I think it's clear that there is a gender imbalance in the K-12 world. And many times it is a pipeline issue where it takes females a lot longer to navigate into those roles versus males. And yes, I agree that in some cases it is because as women, we opt out sometimes to get married and raise families. But in other cases, it is because we're overlooked. So my advice is to make yourself known and be seen. Make sure that you network with others, shadow your principal, make sure that you're offering to help them with projects outside the classroom and school-wide initiatives. And I think that the key here is to be confident and to navigate in this male-dominated field. I think that I feel passionate to provide that support and network to women who are in my education pathway coming to me saying that they aspire to become a leader in the future, and I'm there to share my story with them.
Thank you, Dr. Molina. And as a proud faculty member in your pathway, we're always pushing our students to do more. We want them obviously to obtain their degree, but we're always offering, professional development. Even when they graduated, I was one that I could always come back to BC and say, hey, I'm applying for a teacher of the year and I need a a reference letter or working on a grant, we collaborate. I remember when I worked at MacArthur, I reached out and Dr. Molina came out and, she saw me in action with my ESE students. So again, we strive to provide that support to our students, not only when they're in our classroom, but also when they graduate so that they're comfortable and they're pushing for those different opportunities and roles at their school. Dr. Noel.
Right, that's so, I'm just shaking my head over here in agreement with what you ladies are saying. We have to be intentional. Now, in my field of psychology, we're traditionally more male dominated, but over the years has become almost equal. And sometimes you have more females who are PhDs in psychology in terms of higher ed. The numbers are almost the same. But for both instances, and when you start to look closer, I know with the Association of Counseling Center Directors, when we would look at salary, for example, of counseling center directors, and if you would control for size of institution, number of students, et cetera, male directors still made significantly more money. And in a recent report from the American Association of University Women, when they looked at higher education and higher education administration, yes, the number of females were increasing, but then when you looked at those, what we might call elite institutions, those top tier institutions, those Carnegie Research One, that there were only 22% women in those higher ed and those top positions in those kinds of institutions. So that's, the kind of challenges that we face, but it's still, there's work to do. How did I navigate challenges? I talked a little bit about having a supportive network, and I was fortunate to have strong women all along the way who were very intentional about including and allowing opportunities for growth and development. I was able to build an awesome team. I think especially as you go up the ladder in different areas, you need other people, informally, formally. And if you're in an administrative position, there's nothing like having wonderful people working with you. I had an excellent finance person, an excellent IT person who worked along with me, and that just made what I was doing so much easier. I think if you have an opportunity to develop a data bank to be accountable for what you're doing, have your own data set that you are in charge of so that you can show people what you're doing. You can demonstrate what you're doing and what your goals are based on the kind of data that you have. And because I was able to build a strong team, then I had a capacity, and that's how I was able to then, when opportunities came along to, hey, we need to move this department, we need to reorganize. I had capacity, but only because I had these excellent team members, working alongside me. And then developing strategic alliances along the way. And I wrote down males and females, people who outside of my work area who were able to really strategize with me and to be protective sometimes of my office and the work that we were doing, but they're mutually beneficial. So I had something to offer them, they had something to offer me. So you can't do it alone internally. And I think externally with the larger institution, we need to develop those strategic alliances. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Dr. Pavanelli, is your career sector male dominated? And if so, how did you navigate?
I honestly do not think that it is male dominated, but it just to emphasize what is being said already, that if women are in a male dominated environment, they should show their talent. And I like how Dr. Noel just mentioned, be in charge. This is something that I think we should do not let stereotypes and gender expectations to dictate what you can and cannot do. So if you have an opinion about something, if you feel that opinion about a subject is what is good for your organization or your work, like at home or at work, you need to keep that idea and not change based on what your colleagues will tell you. So to me, it's really important to not accept male cultural norms. especially if you are in a male-dominated environment.
Thank you. And please feel free to type any questions that you would like to ask to our panel today in our chat box. I'm going to go over to one of our last questions. What is something, Dr. Molina, that you like the next generation of women to know? Would you like to let them know, tell them?
Sure. So from what I've seen so far, I think that the next generation, they're very motivated by passion, they're creative. So my hope is that today's girls, they grow into women who understand not just how to speak up for themselves, but how to effectively use their voice to influence others in all aspects of their life. I think it's critical for girls to learn to ask and to speak their minds, whether it's in a relationship or in the workplace, just everywhere, and do it with integrity and with compassion and with empathy. I want young girls to imagine, their most successful self, personally, professionally, and be advocates for themselves and be able to navigate through whatever, life throws their way. I do want them to know that there is no magic wand that just grants whatever they wish for, but that they can achieve a healthy work-life balance when they grow up, that they can survive difficult moments. I think that by having these open and honest conversations with both young girls and boys, that they can begin to ask for what they need, they can seek out help, they can be more assertive and become advocates for themselves early in their lives and even as young adults. And I also want the next generation of women to know that some people are going to label them as being aggressive or intense, or my least favorite words that I get called all the time, dramatic, emotional, or bossy, for being the assertive female that they are and for speaking their mind. But they have to be brave enough and gain that thick skin and the self-confidence that comes with being assertive, and just stay true to themselves. And ultimately, I like what Sheryl Sandberg says, make sure that you keep inviting yourself to sit at the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Molina. Dr. Noel, what would be something that you want the next generation of women to know?
Well, especially, coming out of this while still being involved in this season of COVID, self-care and resilience are more important than ever. Being able to navigate these difficult times and to come out feeling stronger, feeling more empowered. This has been a very difficult, life-changing, once in a lifetime kind of experience. And it's been hard on women. Women are experiencing greater levels of anxiety and depression. There's greater abuse that has been unreported or underreported. So there has been a lot of negative and maladaptive behavior, and to be able to come through something like this in a positive way is very important. So we have to learn how to be resilient. There's an old saying that's been around for years, is high tech, high touch. And I think one of the things that has happened as far as us being isolated through COVID, we have managed to stay connected through technology, the high tech. But we've lost our way some with the high touch, with the connectivity. So we're really going to have to be intentional about having connections, positive connections, connecting with people who are uplifting and affirming. And a lot of that we at one time could find in the workplace. And I know some places and some businesses are getting back to in person, but many of them are not. They're still going to have people working from home. And there's a whole new work model where the person that you report to might be in another state. You might be hired to work for a company and you never meet anybody face-to-face that you're going to be working with. So we're going to have to learn how to make those professional connections, those personal connections in a very intentional way that are so valuable personally and professionally. And finally, I think it's important for us all to have an internal source of hope and optimism. I'm a woman of faith, so that's what my faith provides for me, that no matter what is happening, I know there's light at the end of the tunnel. And we each need something like that. We need something in our hearts, internally, that's going to tell us that we can do this, that things are going to be better, that things are going to work out, that sense of positivity and hope. So that's what I would wish for the next generation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And Dr. Pavanelli. what would you
Okay,
like to
I'm
share?
just trying like to take notes here because I feel like everything you like they all mentioned already, right? So I would say that what I want them to know is that inequality is still exists and should not continue into the next generation. So we need girls who grow into women to be aware that they do need to speak up and but also use their voice, right, to influence others, and then they should be able to make their own decisions and make changes. So I even wrote it here that they should ask for what they need, want, and desire. They have that right.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And again, I don't see any questions, but please feel free before we end our session to add any questions. This has been super amazing, very inspirational. As you're speaking, I'm writing notes on my computer and just sharing them. I've always been a note taker. I love using my highlighters to say this is personal, this is work related. But this today has been just super amazing. I hope that the attendees that are here, um, you're here not only to listen to these amazing speakers, but also to see how it impacts your life. You know, what does Women's History mean? Women's History Month mean to you, and what are we going to do moving forward? I'm going to share a quote with you from. One second. I think it closed up. From Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and it said, "Fight for the things that you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you." And I think that working together, it's easier said than done, not always the easiest thing. But she was just such a great role model and an example. And I think it's it's really nice when you see young kids in elementary school after the passing of, like when she passed away, they're doing book reports on her and they're learning about her. I'm like, yes, we need to learn about these amazing women and keep sharing those experiences at a very young age. So as a teacher, we do want to expose, and I know Dr. Molina, you were in the classroom. I always had those teachers, and just share those impactful women from a very young age. And so again, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Dr. Molina, Dr. Pavanelli, Dr. Noel. A pleasure to be here. And also to AD Rudy Jean Bart for bringing this together. I know how much work it is to put these discussions, but you know what? After you do all the work and then you see this, you're like, yeah, this is what, this is my why. This is why we do what we do. So thank you.
Absolutely. Just really wonderful commentary. Appreciate, you all, Professor Santiago, for doing such an excellent job of moderating this conversation. Dr. Noel, we welcome you to the Broward College family. Thank you so much. We appreciate Associate Dean King for, making the connection for you to be here. And then our fearless academic dean and Dean of the Education Pathway, Dr. Molina. Thank you for your leadership and for all that you bring to the table. And Dr. Pavanelli, it's been a pleasure listening to you and the insight that you have given, and you did an excellent job representing the EAP department. So I think I'll definitely give you all 20 minutes, if you will. And it's been wonderful. We appreciate it. Our last one, let me state this. Our last one will be next Wednesday, the 30th of March at 12:30 p.m. The panel is entitled Leading Seahawk Nation to Higher Heights. And it features a lot of the leaders at Broward College. So you have Isabel Gonzalez, who serves as the Chief of Staff of the President and VP of Communication and Community Relations. You have Dr. Jamanica Roll, who serves as the Interim Vice Provost, the Interim Vice Provost. You have Academic Affairs. You have Janice Stubbs, who serves as Vice President of Student Services. Sophia Galvin, who serves as Vice President of Talent and Culture. And then you have Dr. Stephanie Etter, who is and academic vice provost over libraries and academic success centers as well, and moderated by Professor Jennifer Killam. So it's going to be a star-studded event, if you will, and we're looking forward to it. We're going to close with a bang. So this has been great. Thank you all so very much, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, panel, again. Appreciate you all.
Bye. Take care.
Very welcome. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.